All right, that's sorry. What?
Yes.
What?
Is there?
We have audio?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, look at that. That looks great.
Oh,
man.
wow. It does look great.
It looks great.
So are we rolling?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We've still been rolling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let me.
Do you want to explain to people in case anybody's anybody's actually out there? So this is all right now, although I have Dan over my head again.
Yeah, I mean, what we do, this is the behind the media. Just as we get ready for the show, we always like to let people see a little bit of what goes on. Sometimes it's craziness as we get ready for the show. I thought I'd dress up a little bit today. Normally I have water, but I'm going with.
I was going to wear.
I'm going with tea today because.
You kind of look like a reverend.
The reason we're going with the tea is because the weather outside's nutty. I thought I was going to blow away coming in here.
It's pretty crazy. Now you remember you covered Hurricane Katrina.
Yes.
So you've been in weather stories.
I've done weather stories. I've done. This is hot. I've done nor'easters, which is what this is.
Right. Without the snow.
Right. And the reporters always go to those areas where you're going to get some flooding.
Right. You want the most spectacular weather images, the water crashing against the rocky coast.
That's right.
Splashing up, right? And the reporters going, whoa!
Putting themselves in danger. By the way, we haven't started the show yet. We're just chit-chatting here before the show gets started.
This is behind the media.
Right. But, sometimes it just feels so fake because they're putting reporters in areas where they have to get impacted by it. And it's bad enough, and then they have the reporters.
In the New England area, we call this the Shelby Scott.
Oh, that's right, Shelby Scott.
Shelby Scott syndrome. She was probably one of the first at WBZ to be put out into the hurricane force winds, and she was always getting blown up. I'm pretty sure she's a Massachusetts Broadcast Hall of Famer too.
Well, people love watching weather stuff because it's breaking. They wanted to see if their street's going to get flooded. It does affect everyone, so we understand that. Anyway,
okay.
Again, I will be doing tea today as opposed to water since probably
you're not getting sick again.
No.
Because if you're getting sick again, I'm out the door.
I'm not getting sick. This is because the weather is so lousy outside. I'd rather have something nice and warm inside. Okay, I think we're all good. Our audio's good. Video's good. The video and the monitor is good. Oh, we have a new monitor. Welcome, Mr. New Monitor.
Do you like that?
I like it.
It's not that much smaller.
No, but it looks better.
I think it fits the room better, as they say in the interior design world.
Yes. Anyway, I think we're ready to rock and roll.
Ready
Hit
to
it,
rock.
Steve.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks, and in the field, they've seen and covered it all. And now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an educator,
I'm embracing it.
I want you to use the phone to help teach these kids.
You don't need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or
no, not a gong, a bong.
A bong.
With a B.
That's right. Did I say
the
gong?
Gong is a
That's
gong
right.
show.
I said gong.
Gong
bong.
makes noise.
Bong.
Okay.
Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan.
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is. You have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying which one do you want to be. The NRA is the nation's crosshairs as gun violence and what to do about it is hotly debated. Controversy swirls everywhere, but is it going too far to compare the NRA to ISIS, the terrorist organization? Wait until you hear what one journalism professor is saying.
Facebook Live brings you the serious, the fun, and of course, it brings you us. But there's also some troubling and some shocking things, and as in the case of a musician activist who was actually murdered as he was streaming live on Facebook, the harsh reality of sharing reality.
Melania Trump is calling for more positive dialogue on social media, but not everyone is smiling or laughing.
I was going to say, I still am laughing about that line, all right? And in our fourth quarter, our media bites behind the media, including those annoying tabs on an article that prompt you to the next page and then the next page, and then we all just hate them, won't use them, and so much for that.
Hello, everybody. Buckle your seatbelts, grab your cup of coffee or a pillow to punch. This is not your grandmother's podcast. This is, in fact, Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by RX Bar, the Whole Foods Protein Bar. Go to rxbar.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS for 25% off your first purchase. We're also brought to you by Worksess. Get to know me. It's engaging content for the workplace. Gun control. Don't take our guns away. It's loud and angry and makes big headlines. How's the coverage so far? Jimmy, some would argue it's biased. End of story.
Again, that's pretty much the end of the story. Let's move on to the next quarter. No, this has been going on for a long time in this country.
Yes, it is.
As a history major, let me say this, a former history major at Tufts University, the love affair with the gun is part of the American culture. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, obviously was so important during the American Revolution in the 18th century.
Here we go down history lane.
That was a long time ago when we were talking about muskets, not automatic rifles and assault rifles and all this stuff. And
when we report on it then, Jimmy, whose side do we take?
With me?
Well, I know where you're coming from.
But
in general, I mean, when you're watching the nightly news and you're watching, or reading the newspapers and the majority of sort of the traditional blogs and digital sites out there, do you get a sense that it's a little biased, that it tends to be pushing back on gun ownership in this country?
Well, I will say this, and I will again defend our friends in the media. I've seen more pro-NRA propaganda stories, if you will.
Really?
On
Where?
CNN, that the head of the NRA addressing the conservative groups up in Baltimore, I think it was about a week ago. And then I think President Trump went up there. Oh, I said his name. Went up there and did the same things. But
in the terms of the coverage of this, is it more?
Well,
sort
CNN
of
didn't have to cover that. Didn't have to take the head of the NRA and spewing his
they
venom,
didn't.
if you will, in front of other conservatives out there. I mean, they didn't have to do that.
No,
they did.
Right. So you're saying that they're presenting a balanced view of the gun dialogue.
I think they are trying to.
Right.
Okay.
But in general, the voices that we hear out there, aren't they overwhelmingly the people who are saying, get rid of the guns? These guns are causing terror out there. Is it that, or is it just, we have all the young people from down in Florida who've been taking this on as a massive campaign, and rightly so. And because they're doing so much, they're getting media attention. And so that's what's maybe taking that balance out of whack a bit.
A little bit. I think first of all, this movement, driven by the young people of Florida who were victimized in this latest horrible attack, I give them a lot of credit. It does remind me a lot of the protest era of the 60s, where young people...
I don't remember that at all.
No, I know you don't.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was born, but I was just too young to remember.
And I had an older brother who was a role model,
And
and
he
I
told you
followed
about
him
it.
around, pretty much is what I did. I got out of school to do the protest deal, and I thought that was really cool. No, I really, look, let's face it, the Vietnam War was a very unpopular war. The United States was in it for a long time, probably, we don't have to get into why and all this, but it was an unpopular war, and young people said, you know what, we're tired of it. We're protesting against it. We don't want this war. We want to get out of it. All that stuff was driven by a passion by young people. And I'm really seeing a similar kind of a grassroots, not grassroots.
No,
grassroots.
That's a different. We'll have to look up grassroots.
There is no moots.
No.
Okay?
But the thing is, they also know how to utilize the media, the medium. I mean, that's why they're getting all the attention now.
Which leads me to what I saw today in my favorite little newsletter from Ad Age, okay, that the NRA has developed an app. And that app is tied into Republican congressional leaders. And by mid-February, the mobile app, okay, the NRA's Institute of Legislation Action, urged users to send pre-written tweets that automatically route to the individual members of Congress telling them to protect our constitutional right to self-defense.
Wow. So they're tapping into this technology, realizing that most people are getting whatever it is they're getting, whether it's their fun, their games, and their information, it's coming through apps. Now they're using this technology to push their message.
Exactly.
to the masses.
Exactly. Well, yeah, to the masses, using democracy and social media.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Yeah. Look, they have the right. The NRA has a right to protest.
They do.
They have the right to speak their minds.
Right, they do. And they have the right to be extremely powerful and potentially intimidate a lot of the lawmakers there. As you heard this week when President Trump was meeting with Republicans and he was asking about, what the progress was, and we can pull it here in specifically from this article. He was asking Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and another senator as well about a bill that they had authored in the aftermath of the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary. That was back in 2012. And he wanted to know
how many years ago was that?
That was 2000. Exactly. Yes.
5-6 years ago.
Yeah, that's a while
we're
back.
Still
and we're
fighting this. Keep going.
Exactly. But he asked them if they had included a provision that would have raised the age at which an individual could purchase a rifle from 18 to 21. And he said, he responded to the president, no, I did not. And the president said, quote, "You know why? Because you're afraid of the NRA." Wow.
And who isn't afraid of the NRA? They're the big bad wolf.
Well, we know who's not afraid of the NRA.
Who's not afraid of the NRA?
This professor that we found.
Hold that thought,
Okay.
because I'm going to give credit to a lot of the corporations in America who
Yes.
haven't waited for legislation. They are hitting the NRA where it hurts.
Oh, that's right. Delta is one of those, right?
Delta. LL Bean is now only going to sell guns to over 21s.
Right.
A lot of companies that gave discounts to the NRA as a courtesy, as a way to build business, are now taking that discount back.
It's money. Money talks.
And money is
It's the pressure.
Perhaps it's even more powerful than the democratic voices that we have.
You're right. Now, look, back to that story I was just telling you about. Kind of interesting. What got us going down this road in the first place? So there is this guy. His name is George Kennedy. He's a former managing editor at the Missourian. It's a newspaper in Missouri. And a professor emeritus at the Missouri School of Journalism. So that's it's a hallowed journalism institution there.
It's a great school.
And so he actually came out with this. He wrote a piece. He's also contributing, as I mentioned there, he writes these op-ed pieces. Yep. And he was writing about the problem of guns in America and these mass shootings that have been occurring.
And he was doing that recently, not 6 years ago.
Right. Well, yeah. The stuff that's been happening.
Right. I'm just saying. It's what is it? Deja vu all over again,
Exactly.
as the late Yogi Berra would tell us.
But here is where he jumps into hot water, where he compares what is going on with the NRA and the power of the NRA and ISIS, which is a terrorist organization. So he lays out some of the shootings that have happened around in recent years. And he says this. He goes, "My follow-up question then is this. Which organization is more dangerous to Americans, ISIS or the NRA?" This is a former journalism professor talking here. Mm-hmm. And he goes on to say, "What makes ISIS so feared is its willingness to kill in pursuit of its goal of creating a fundamentalist caliphate. What makes the NRA so feared is its willingness to spend heavily and campaign aggressively in pursuit of its goal of removing all restrictions on the possession and use of firearms just about anywhere by just about anyone. In our country, the NRA is a lot closer to meeting its goal." Wow.
So what's more impactful? A horrific crime that we saw down in Florida, or the fact that the NRA can spend money to control the various ballot items and how our Congress thinks?
Look, there is no question.
The dollar or the gun? What is it?
There is no question that the NRA has a lot of power. There is no question that the NRA has a lot of money. And it uses the power and the money to influence a lot of things, whether it's on the local level, the national level, throughout Congress. There is a lot of power from the NRA. The question I have is, do you have to go to extremes to juxtapose the NRA and ISIS? As a journalism professor, is that the way that you should be writing? And I know it's not a news story. It is an opinion. He's trying to certainly get some attention, and he's trying to raise the level, I guess, of this debate.
He's giving us material, actually, is what he's doing. We got him on the phone. No, I'm only kidding. And by the way, this is not the George Kennedy that was in Cool Hand Luke.
No, it is not. No, this is Professor.
This is a professor.
This is Mr. Professor.
Not the actor.
Yeah, and look, and I get what he was trying to get that, but
he did a great job of inciting some response.
Right. He definitely did. And it was quite controversial. I mean, anytime you go after a powerful institution like this, it can lead to hot water. And he got the attention. He certainly got the attention. He has a lot of people talking about this. And what I've seen recently is a lot of the conservative publications out there have picked this up. Again, he first went public with this last spring, but in recent days, you've had the Breitbarts and other of these far-right publications, if you will, have been picking this up and running with it in an attempt to show, look, this is what the liberal media, those professors who are teaching the journalists of tomorrow, this is how they think. Can you believe that they are comparing the NRA to ISIS? And so it's giving ammunition to them.
No, good play on words.
Yeah, I didn't even think.
Good play on words. That's why he's a broadcast journalism award-winning guy, okay? I'm just saying. Can I ask a question, though?
Sure.
And this is kind of a rhetorical question, I guess. Is being educated automatically turn you into a liberal? Does being educated...
Are you trying to say that you're educated?
Some may debate. Most actually might debate that. I know what I know.
Does being educated turn you into a liberal? No,
yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, good. Because
Why?
It seems that every opinion that comes from our professors, and it comes from our teachers,
right.
These are educators who are giving their opinions. Okay?
Exactly.
Everybody throws them all into the same boat with the media. We're
Right.
all liberal.
Right.
Or
No, you're
are
right.
we all educated?
Well, look.
I'm just saying. I see a comparison. I mean, it happens all the time.
Right. I look, but I do think when you put things out like this, and again, I realize why it's done. It's like the teasing headline that you do that draws attention, or the coming up next, whatever it is that you throw out, that tease that you do. You always do something because you want to get people's attention. You want them to sit down. You want to read something. I understand that, but in these days when journalists are viewed as being biased, as being
educated,
as being liberal, when you have someone
educated.
who is training young people to be journalists, saying something like this, you can imagine why, whatever the population of the country that would be pro-gun, you can see why they say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Those liberal elitist journalists, or those who are training those liberal elitist journalists, this is how they think. This is why we need to fight back against them.
I think what they think is they look at a headline and think that's the truth.
Right. I mean,
they've come up with their opinions based on the headlines because they don't have time to read and get educated. So they're just reacting to what's going on out there.
Well, and there's a reason why they build those headlines the way they do, is that they want people to get all
attention.
Worked up and to get attention. Yeah, when you read the piece, he's not saying that the NRA is ISIS. He's just raising some tough questions and then laying it out there, putting them all in one place together, and it gets bundled, and it appears to be that way.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to say something liberal and educated.
Oh, really?
Here.
Liberal and educated.
Let's hope that the latest horrific situation, news item, what happened down at Douglas High School, will be the motivator to finally get changes to gun control laws in any capacity. I'm going to take any win at all, even if it's the darn, those buckstock thingies, whatever they turn the semi-automatics into automatics. Right. We can get rid of those. Anything is going to be a win.
And I hope that the media will certainly be more responsible in the way that they cover whatever it is, whether it's legislation, whether it's community activism. We talked in an earlier podcast about only jumping and using sort of a formula to cover things when they happen as breaking news. We have already seen some good signs of in-depth coverage beyond just kind of the headline material. I hope that continues, that after all of this sort of fades, after a few weeks and months, that we still continue this digging and this prodding, because that's the only way that real change will happen.
6 years ago, Sandy Hook. What changes have we made over the last 6 years? Just saying.
If you like the show, share it. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Keep listening to Behind the Media. This is our second quarter.
Woohoo! How am I doing on the bell this time? I'm starting to. I see the cue.
I'm going to start calling you the bellhop.
Mr. Bell.
Because
yes.
you just rang the bell and you hopped.
Tell us about where we are, who we are, and what we're about.
This is Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by RX Bar, the Whole Foods protein bar. Go to rxbar.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS for 25% off your first purchase. We're also brought to you by WorkZest. Get to know me. It's engaging content for the workplace. Live streaming on Facebook can be fun, exciting, and dangerous, as a 55-year-old man in North Carolina was gunned down live even as he told the gunman he was on live. He had been calling out suspects, Jimmy, about crimes in the neighborhood, saying, hey, this person by name is dealing drugs or running guns or committing other crimes. What I found as a takeaway immediately from this, first of all, is tragic because you see that video. I don't know if you took a look at the whole video, but it's been pulled down in some places now on some sites. But it was disturbing. Here's a guy, he's going live. He's talking about what he had just gone through.
He's got a selfie stick.
He's got a selfie stick, right.
On himself.
Right.
Right, as he's approached by a man with a gun.
Right. And he tells the guy, you're on live, basically.
He doesn't care where he's live. I mean, at that point, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then the shots ring out, and it's still rolling. He drops, and he later is pronounced dead.
And he was a block from a police station.
Exactly.
Where he had just visited.
He had visited a police station to report that, I guess, a phone or something like that had been stolen. But this is someone, look, to be fair, and completely transparent here, this is someone who has been he's a musician who has done a lot of community activism work. Some of his work has been labeled as vigilantism. He has been maybe not as trustworthy, perhaps, with some of the information he's putting out there. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it misses the mark. And according to those who knew him, they said you didn't know when it was actually the truth. But he had this practice of live on Facebook calling people out. And one of the things I found troubling, Jimmy, is that people watch reporters on the air. They see us going live and doing investigative reports or whatever it may be, and they think, oh yeah, we can just go out there and play TV, if you will, and do it. But there are consequences, and there are reasons why we document and we make sure that we have the goods on something before we're throwing someone's name out there, because there are dangers involved, and this is tragic. But this was a case, I think, maybe there are some deeper personal issues here going on with this individual, but this is a case where someone was trying to, in essence, be an investigator activist live on Facebook, and it got him.
Yeah, it's why they call it social media, Dan, instead of traditional media. And I think there is a distinction, even though that distinction is becoming more and more vague as the technology and as we evolve, if you will. And that is a danger. And this is a danger. Here's a guy that's using social media to be a vigilante and point out people who break laws on a regular basis.
Who should be, if in fact they are doing something wrong, should be called out.
Well, absolutely, it's against the law what they're doing,
Right.
and he's just broadcasting it. But
Right.
I don't think that there is a broadcast entity in the world that would back what he was doing,
Right.
because it really is an irresponsible use of the form of communication to a mass audience.
Well, and doesn't this kind of bolster the argument that we've been making now for quite some time that, yeah, anyone can be a journalist because you have a device, you can go live from wherever, you can write something and put it out on a blog, you can create a newspaper, if you will, and call it the Dan Lothian Journal and put it out there and label yourself as a journalist or as a reporter, as a member of the media, but there is more than just that. Just having that piece of technology and just being able to do something doesn't make you a professional. It doesn't mean that you can't get some good material, but it doesn't make you a journalist because there's so much else that goes into being a journalist. You go to school to find out a lot of things that you should do or shouldn't do or how you should verify things. You have layers of editors who can prevent you from going out there and getting into trouble. Even then, professional reporters get into trouble.
We know one locally that has done that, and with a misuse of a word or two.
Oh, yes,
let's just
exactly.
say. So that happens a lot. You know, it's funny. You talk about journalists and how easy it is now to create your own blog and to create your own live stream on Facebook and your own channel on YouTube, and it's all there's access. The public can go out there and use it, but like anything else, they can also abuse it. And they don't have the education and training that traditional media journalists have just by doing the job. You have to, there are a lot of ways to learn lessons.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, no,
some
you're
are the
right.
hard way, and some are going to class, taking notes, and being quizzed on the information you've learned, and then coming back and saying, oh, now I'm ready because I remember talking about that in Professor Young's classes.
Oh, yes, Professor. What was that label that I gave you? Reverend? Mr. Reverend?
I can be a reverend.
Yes.
Hallelujah. Although I will say, Dan, no disrespect, and anybody who's streaming this live on
Yes.
Facebook video-wise, you look a little like a member
like
of the
Father
I'm
Lothian.
just saying.
Okay,
Father
Father
Lothian,
Lothian.
Reverend James, I'll take whatever you want to do.
And this is your podcast about faith.
Yes.
Now, Jimmy, do you think that it is? So we've been talking a lot about the responsibility of those using the technology. Is there something that the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Snapchats of the world need to be doing to better educate the public about not taking journalism into their own hands, if you will,
Right.
and ending up in situations like this?
Well-
Do they need to be doing more?
Well, yeah, I think they absolutely want to do more. I think they're trying to. In fact, the CEO of Twitter even called out his own organization and questioned whether it should be in existence. I mean,
wow.
it is a very difficult task, and Facebook is finding this out now, and Twitter is finding this out now, to use humans to curate the massive information that's out there, right?
Right.
And decide, is this appropriate or not appropriate? And I'm not saying right or left, right or wrong, but it's closer to right or wrong than it is to right or left.
Right. And
That was pretty good, by the way. I just want to say, sometimes I get it right. You know?
we ought to save that, put it in a book, and sell it.
Yeah, there
No,
you go.
You're right, though. We do find they are trying to keep up with how people are using their technology. And the masses have
Abusing their technology.
Well, you're right.
And I think
abusing their
that's a better way to.
technology.
Yeah.
But is there more that they could do? I mean, are there? And I don't
They
know.
still rely on humans
Yeah,
to
but-
curate this massive information.
But does there need to be this and not that this will stop it, but even beyond this guy trying to be an activist investigator in the neighborhood kind of thing against crimes, there are a lot of young people who are doing tricks and different things like that so that they can stream it live and they can get more likes and clicks and that kind of thing. Is there more of a warning? Is there an ongoing warning that needs to maybe an algorithm that can figure out what people are doing at any given time and either shut it down if it appears to be too dangerous, or certainly alert the company that they can put out messaging to these people to say, look, you're going too far with this. You might get, I don't know. I mean, technology can do a lot of things. Is there something that needs to be built into all of these systems to better protect the audience?
Knock, knock. Big
Yeah.
Brother is knocking.
Okay. Yeah.
Big Brother is not. No, we don't want to have censorship. But
No,
you're
I don't
asking,
want censorship.
Right, but there's curation. There's appropriate curation.
So I'm not saying cut it off, Jimmy. I'm
not
not
saying to
I'm not
cut it
saying
off either.
stop it. I'm
But
saying warn them.
How
Put
about-
out warnings. Put something
Okay.
up on the screen. Get a hold of those people. Find them.
I got
Tell
an
them
idea.
you're about ready to get shot if you keep doing this.
I know how to fix this.
Okay, go ahead. Fix it.
There's something called the dark web.
What is the dark web, by the way? I see that commercial all the time. The dark web.
Incognito tabs, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, don't give you the same information about
who
the
it is.
user.
But Jimmy, I'm not saying stop the user. I'm saying warn the user.
Maybe we need to have a subscription web where it is deemed appropriate for certain things to be on there, and those that aren't, have to go in the. I don't know.
But
I'm
it's
throwing it out
it's
there.
less about the appropriateness of it and more of a warn the person who's doing it and saying, beware. I'm not saying stop them necessarily. I'm saying warn them. And maybe there are warnings out there. We'd love to hear from you if you know of a particular, what Facebook is doing other than a press release that goes out from time to time. Is there something something built into the algorithm that will immediately trigger some kind of activity that is being streamed live that will put up a warning or send a direct warning, whoever the dark web person is, and warn them and say, look, there's a good chance that you could get hurt doing this.
Well, look, I'm all for education. I'm all for learning by doing, taking those lessons, that knowledge that you have, and sharing it with others. I'm that's my soul.
That is your soul.
That's my soul.
Soul
right?
brother.
Take it. Yes.
Take it home, soul brother.
Yes, I am.
If you like Soul Brother, or if you like the show, share it, subscribe to it on iTunes, and keep listening to Behind the Media. It's halftime, Jimmy. Oh, halftime. This show is brought to you by Little Park Media, where good ideas come to life. If you'd like a video for your company or your podcast, we can get it done for you. Find out more at info@littleparkmedia.com.
You also do video press releases.
Video press releases. Jimmy said that because he starred in one recently.
Would not call me a star.
He did start it. Today's episode is also powered by RX Bar, the Whole Foods protein bar. Jimmy, there are times when growing up, your mom always said to you, you got to eat this. It's healthy for you. And what happened when it was healthy for you?
To this day, I still don't eat healthy food. Sorry.
Because it didn't taste good.
No,
right? That was
yuck.
Right.
Yuck. Right.
Exactly. It never tastes good. Well, this is different here. Here is a great protein bar. RX bars taste really good. And it comes in 11 delicious flavors. Its core ingredients do all the talking. So really, I could just shut up. But I will shut up and then pretend like this is the bar talking. It's simply eating 3 egg whites, 2 dates, and 6 almonds. Yummy, yummy, yummy.
I had egg whites today.
Did you?
Yes.
Well, here you can
yellows too.
No. We're not talking about yellows. We're talking egg whites. RX bars are gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, no added sugar, no artificial colors. So wow, that makes it very good, especially for people who have all different kinds of allergies and that kind of thing.
I don't know this, but I'm gonna. It sounds like, and I'm learning about this. Yeah. It sounds like it's vegan.
I'm telling you, this is healthy, good protein bars. Right. These RX bars are great whether you want to get it for breakfast on the go, you want a snack at the office. How many times are we sitting around here in the office, Jimmy, and I say, hey, what do you got there? You got anything? Or we're scrounging through the refrigerator. Maybe we travel a lot. Airplanes. I used to live on airplanes. I'm always hungry, and it takes forever for that cart to come along. Now you can throw one of these bars in your backpack. Maybe you want to have something before a hike, before a bike ride, pre or post working out. These bars are perfect for that. Again, it's egg white protein. It stands out as a source of protein that is easy for your body to absorb. So go to rxbar.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS for 25% off your first purchase.
That promo code again was CLNS for 25% off your first purchase. Bell. Sorry.
This is Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Again, today's episode is powered by RX Bar, the Whole Foods protein bar. Go to rxbar.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS for 25% off your first purchase. First Lady Melania Trump.
Stop right there.
Gave her
Stop
speech
right there. That's all. She said something.
Positivity
Oh my God.
on social media.
Yeah.
Okay. I will set it up that way.
Yes.
She gave a speech about positivity on social media. Jimmy?
Did her husband listen? That's all I want to ask.
And that's
I'm
what
sorry.
I know.
I don't think it's, I feel bad for her in so many ways.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yes.
And she wants to do right with her position.
Yes.
But I'm just going to leave it there.
Right. And
I'm sorry. I was going to go to another leg. I
Okay.
said, nope, I'm just going to leave. She's trying to do right with her position
Right.
as the first lady.
Right. And she's like a salmon swimming upstream.
Yeah.
And
yet, you know what? In this day and age where we talk about the Me Too movement and the power of the woman, okay, I'm going to give her credit.
You're right. And that's, when we sat down talking about this particular story and thinking about putting it in the lineup, weren't we, we said that often maybe I should say you are always beating up on Donald Trump and always anti anything that the administration does. And this was an opportunity to really, hey, if there is something good going on, we want to talk about that. And that's the case here. And she was speaking to these, there's some lawmakers, their spouses. It was a luncheon for spouses of governors who were meeting with President Trump. And in her speech, she said, quote, "I'm asking you all to join me today and commit to promoting values such as encouragement, kindness, compassion, and respect in our children. With those values as a solid foundation, our kids," she goes on to say, "will be better equipped to deal with many of the evils in our world today, such as drug abuse, addiction, and negative social media interactions." That sounds good.
That sounds good. So in therapy, sometimes couples get to say one side to the other. So what I think I hear you saying, my couple friend.
How do you know about this therapy thing?
It's because I have a team of therapists.
Okay.
Mental, physical, emotional, take your pick. I have a small army of therapists.
A small army. Oh, my goodness.
That being said, that would be Team Young, by the way.
Team Young.
Team Young. And that being said, it is amazing to me, again, that the guy that shares her, that she carries his last name.
Right.
Okay? I'm
Melania
not mentioning
Trump.
his name.
Yes.
Okay?
She is the First Lady of the United States, who happens to be then the wife of the President of the United States, who happens to be Donald Trump.
All right. And
Yes.
I'm going to admit.
Did I need to make that exclaimer?
No.
Explainer?
What I learned, again, is an acronym, is that FLOTUS.
FLOTUS, right.
I didn't know that she was. I didn't realize that actually exists.
Oh, yes, that does exist. There's POTUS,
yes.
President of the United States.
POTUS sounds like a disease,
And
I just want to say. And
well-
FLOTUS sounds nice.
Well, I don't know. It sounds like something you spray up your nose when you have the flu.
Could be. That's right.
Right.
And Lord knows we've had a lot of that.
I know. But there was a big pushback on this because really she was trying to frame this as a conversation, and rightly so. There's a lot of ugly stuff that's being said on social media.
We talk about it all the time.
Exactly. There's a lot of bullying. There have been cases of young people going out and committing suicide because of how kids have been spreading false rumors about them on the internet, spreading pictures that shouldn't be out there. All kinds of negative things happen on the internet.
Is there any way we can get her to run the country?
Because
I don't know about
don't
you,
know.
but the woman rules the roost.
Well,
in
she
my
wasn't
house.
born in this country.
I
so,
know. Well, that's a good point. So she can't.
She can't do that.
All right.
Right.
It's too bad
But
because
she can be FLOTUS, and in her role as FLOTUS, she's trying to push for more positivity out there on the internet, on social media. But you're right, Jimmy. I mean, she is. Anytime she comes out and talks about this, then the next layer of conversation is, how can you talk about this when the president on an ongoing basis is not just having sort of negative conversations on his Twitter account, but really tearing people apart, using the kinds of words and things that we would potentially, kids would have set out on a playground. Not that that's right, but that's the kind of place where you would hear some of these things. And so how can she be credible in her messaging about this when her husband continues to do the things that he does online?
She can't. She can't. But she at least can look herself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I'm trying. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great thing, by the way.
Right.
Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall in that
yes.
bedroom just for one night?
It's the only time I've wanted to be a fly. I mean, because flies are just pretty gross.
Right.
So it's not like when people say, "Oh, wouldn't you want to be a fly?" Well, no. Most cases, I don't want to be a fly.
By the way, really scary movie, long time ago.
The Fly.
I got nightmares.
What was it? Fly? Lord of the Fly.
No, The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah. That's creepy.
It was
that's
real creepy,
yeah.
especially when he started getting the
fly things. Yeah. No, I'd rather be. Why not the butterfly on the wall?
Ah, the butterfly on the wall.
Yes, I'd rather be the butterfly on the wall to hear how this plays out.
Inside
the
between
White
the two of them. That's all. I
mean,
you talk about an opportunity for a pay per listen or something. People would love that. That'd be the most entertaining show in television history.
Would be. But look, having said all of that, there is weight to the words of the First Lady, and it is
and
good.
Weight to the words of all women now.
Right. Well, exactly. No,
because
you're right.
I didn't get any pushback from what I said last week about the swimsuit edition at all, but I did get to listen to myself, and I was a little alarmed by some of the things that I said.
Well, Jimmy, that's why I'm always alarmed when I'm around you. Things come out.
I gotta tell you,
I'm alarmed.
Right. So let's give some credit to our females, because I do still maintain. By the way, I can't have children. I'm a male. You can't have children.
Well, I think there was a guy who got pregnant one time.
Yeah, one time, right?
Yes,
and
maybe
history
more.
Of the
we just haven't heard about it. Yeah.
It seems to me that a human being that can reproduce, has a big advantage over those of us who can only cause the reproduction.
Oh man, the wheels have fallen off the truck here.
I'm just
How do we
saying.
go from
Well,
positivity on the internet to
because
to
I want to give power to the
production,
women. I want to show
producing.
respect. I want to show respect to
This
the Me
sounds
Too
like a
movement.
sex
I
ed
want them to
class.
stand. Well, I was using euphemisms.
Oh,
You know what a
okay, thank you.
euphemism is,
I
right?
do know what that is.
And I thought I
It's
was
a
using
nice wool sweater that you can get from, somewhere, LL Bean. I think that's what
I'm
that
gonna
is.
I'm gonna segue from this into the Oscars
Right.
and the Academy Awards, because this weekend, I hate dating these podcasts, but during the Academy Awards,
Yes.
there will be a winner of the director of the best movie.
That's usually what happens at the yes.
Right, thank you.
That
I'm
always happens.
setting this up, Dan.
Yes. Yeah,
So
but that
the
always
setup.
happens. That's not anything
Did you
unique
know
to this one.
Did you know? Okay, that for only, I believe, the second time in 90 years, we have a female who is a director of an Oscar-nominated movie, Lady Bird.
Right.
Her name is Greta Gerwig. I'm hoping it's Gerwig and not Gerwig, but
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
going out on a limb
Yes.
thinking it's double. It's hard G on both sides, Greta and Ger. Okay, so and sometimes Hollywood can kind of be a precursor to things that are going on in the society. A lot of people use the platform for political reasons, right?
Right.
Another use of media. There's going to be a certain someone on the red let me rephrase that. An old accusation has reared its ugly head for
Right.
Ryan Seacrest
Right.
again. Okay, I think that's more accurate.
And do we know yet if he's going to be on the red carpet or not?
I believe he is.
Because there was
yes.
some question about whether they'll still move forward.
Again,
but anyway, we digress.
That's in a few days. We're
Right.
not going to know. By the time people listening to this, perhaps
They will have
they'll
known.
have
Yes.
known. Anyway, just the fifth woman nominated for directing in 90 years of the Academy Awards, and the first female nominee since Catherine Bigelow became the only woman to win for The Hurt Locker in 2010. She is expected to win.
Yeah. Look, I think
And
it's
by the way, just think about the power of a female going up there, winning,
Right.
an Academy Award. She's going to have the entire audience of the world at her feet.
Well, look, I think when you look at what last year was, which is women, going the now public above ground disturbing past of how women were treated in the workplace and elsewhere. Now, I think 2018 is the year of the woman. And so it's wonderful to see women in situations like this where they potentially could be the first of anything. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think it's wonderful that the First Lady also is using her platform to also make some first, if you will, to bring some positivity to a medium that has been not all negative. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff that comes from social media, and certainly we're coming to you from social media right now using Facebook platform. And so there's a lot of good that comes from that, but we have to be careful that with the good, there is some of the bad. And I think she's trying to say, look, let's pay attention to this. And she's talking to other women as well and saying, make sure you watch over what your kids are doing. Encourage them to be positive in everything that they do out there, certainly in life, but when they're online as well. Don't hide behind the keyboard to say things that could potentially be hurtful.
Which is one of the reasons why I have the utmost respect for all single women out there who are raising children without a partner.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No,
but
I did not say it.
yes,
I did
single
not.
women. Yeah, I thought you were going somewhere with that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not in the sewer. Okay. I'm really not. I don't spend a lot of time in there. All right.
Are you saying I'm in the sewer?
No, I wasn't
okay.
sure where you were going. I
Yeah.
mean, you know me pretty well. I could have
do.
gone to the sewer. I've been there.
If you like the show, share it, subscribe on iTunes, and keep listening to Behind the Media. It's the fourth quarter. Yes.
I was a little late on my cue.
Yes, I know.
Sorry about
but that's
that.
okay. This
Want
is
to
where,
start over? We'll
yes,
do that.
it's Behind the Media. Oh, no, not yet. Break. Fourth quarter. Bites Behind the Media. If you can't eat the whole meal, we'll just give you a few pieces. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young, and he's a great writer, people, okay?
This episode is brought to you by Little Park Media. Hey, where ideas come to life. Need a video for your company or need a podcast? I think that Little Park Media can certainly produce that for you. Want to find out more? Reach out to Little Park Media at info@littleparkmedia.com. Jimmy.
I got a problem.
Yes.
My fourth quarter notes are
Yeah.
in the other room.
Oh, you can do it off the top of your head.
I'm pretty good. You have something you want to say right
Yeah,
off the
so-
Go ahead. What annoys you about the internet.
Yeah. So there's this thing that happens when you're reading an article. It says something like, find out which actress, has...
What she looked like 50 years ago.
50 years ago, right? And they show you a picture, and you open it up, and it says... there are a lot of actors who, and it starts giving you this background history thing, and then it stops, and then there's a button that says hit next, right? And you go next, and it starts talking about a little bit more. You will spend forever going next before you get to some story that usually isn't the payoff that you thought it was going to be. I'm annoyed by those things. I don't know. I want to hear from folks out there to find out who else is annoyed. You know what I do now? If there is ever a next button on any article, I click the X and get out of it. I'm gone.
Good job.
I will never read it.
And as an individual user of that media, the internet, of course, you get to do that.
Yes.
Okay? The only place that I would ever click is continue reading. Now, sometimes you hit the continued reading button and up comes subscribe now.
Yes,
or
it does.
you've got
There are
5
a lot of things that
articles
pop up.
left. And,
Right.
and it has a lot to do, I think, with the decline of the print industry, and as they reemerge in the digital era with bringing out their work online.
Yes. But the whole idea behind this, Jimmy,
Yes.
is to make sure that you spend a lot longer time squatting on that story and on that site, because you want to raise the amount of time that people spend reading your article. If you put the whole article right there, people may start reading and okay, I got this, and they move on, or they might just jump to the bottom. And I think that the whole idea here is keep people clicking through this thing, because the more that you click the next page, because you're trying to get to the payoff at the end, now you've raised the time that you spent on the site.
I've never gotten to the end.
You have. You bail before the end.
Way before. In fact, I did 1 or 2 times. I know exactly what you went through, and it's like, you know what? I am not
It is
going
the most
there.
annoying thing out there on the internet.
No, just hit that X.
Yes, X.
All right? Hit
X,
that X.
X gets you free.
X gets you free. Now, I mentioned a little bit about the print industry, and last week we had a great interview with a guy who may have discovered something that allows the print industry to become a more digital interactive tool.
Augmented reality.
Augmented reality.
That's
I
right.
love that.
The Ledger Dispatch from Jackson, California.
There you go. I knew you were in on that. You see,
Yes.
that's your thing. I'm visual radio, and you're that thing. Anyway,
What is that thing?
that augmented reality?
Oh, I'm that thing. Okay.
Yeah. Is
I
that
didn't know.
okay?
Oh, yeah. I
didn't mean anything by it.
No, I just didn't know what it meant.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now there is a something going on about a unified login system in Europe for print journalism.
Yeah.
In other words, and I'm not going to take it away from the European group because they're still experimenting with it in France and I believe Spain and Portugal. But let's just pretend and hypothetically say that you are a subscriber to the Boston Globe, that you are a subscriber to the New York Times. Okay, I've got to balance this. Give me a rightist one. Breitbart.
Yeah, that's,
right?
Okay.
Breitbart.
Now,
you're a
Daily Caller.
Right. By the way, Abridged News is all about this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So instead of going into each one of those digital internet sites and having to sign in every single time, one sign in on all your periodicals, all of the subscription-based news that you perhaps. I love the idea.
Right.
By the way, I'm all for technology making our lives easier. Unfortunately, we all know sometimes that doesn't happen.
Oh, my. Yes. In fact, technology makes it a little more difficult for me oftentimes.
Yes.
And my kids often educate me on the use of technology.
Yeah, so unified login system.
That makes sense.
For printed media. I think it totally makes sense.
Right, as opposed to going to all these different sites and logging in each time for access. You log in one time and then you can just. I wonder to make money on something like that, is it or is it just like a third-party way of driving traffic to your site?
I think it's a third-party way of driving traffic, to your site. Now, of course, they're worried about e-privacy.
Right.
But you know what? It's so amazing. I don't know if people realize this, or they're starting to, right? Every time you go on the internet, Big Brother is getting information about who you are.
So it's already out there.
The advertisers are now able to pick up on all the information about who's using what where on the internet and in your little search modes and all this, right? And then they are tailor-making messaging to you based on that activity. And it's all the back-end information now that is driving media dollars. It's driving political situations. I don't want to say anything about the election in 2016, but they took advantage of it. Okay, they did. We know our friends. They're not our friends anymore, by the way. Did you hear there's a Cold War on now?
Oh, well, it sounds like we're getting closer. Yes.
I mean, at some point, people just chill out.
I know. I know. My son came to me and he said, is something going to happen? I said, well, at some point, yes.
Wow.
I mean, something will happen. I don't know what.
Do you think in our lifetime, and of course my lifetime is a lot lesser than yours, we'll see a nuclear bomb?
I hope not.
I hope not, too, Dan.
It's
not like I'm sitting around saying, I can't wait till next week. They're going to...
Yeah,
no.
I hope not. But you never know. I mean, this is a very volatile period that we're living in. A lot of rhetoric being thrown around. Maybe it's just, after the Cold War, we realized that there was just a lot of bluff that was going on. We threw around a lot of things. We said we could do things. They said that the Soviet Union said that they could do things at the time. And in fact,
my stash is bigger than your stash.
Exactly. And in fact, there was nothing there. So
that's right. One more thing. Did you know? I got it because this is just a wing it part of our show, right?
Exactly.
Did you know?
No.
As scary as it was to hear Putin talk about his nuclear arsenal, the Arctic polar cap is 45 degrees above normal. It's melting.
Yeah, I saw a couple. This was covered by a number of different publications, and I saw some video as well.
Scary video of open water in the Arctic Circle, which has never. This is not good. By the way, we all know that there's no such thing as climate change. Well, that sure is pretty good. I mean, you tell me how you would explain that. How would you describe what you're seeing?
It's the leading indicator.
It is, and scientists are freaked. And as are, I feel bad for the little polar bears who love their cold, right? And now all of a sudden, their world is shrinking around them, and they need that world to survive.
Right. Well, look, and one of the things,
and not that our extreme weather has anything to do with that either. By the way,
no, of course not. But one of the things you're seeing now is the way that the media is shifting from the big publications that used to cover everything to more niche kind of publication reporting. And so you have, in this kind of job, my memory on this, Jimmy, is that you have these environmental, if you want to be an environmental reporter, where before you maybe would have gone and worked for a big paper somewhere, you can find websites that focus, that really drill down and provide in-depth information on the environment. And these are the kinds of stories that a lot of reporters are covering now. I do some teaching on the side as well, and as you do, Jimmy, and I have a student who's very passionate about environmental journalism, and he isn't thinking about going somewhere and working for a paper. He wants to work for something that just covers the environment. And is not a newsletter as part of some nonprofit organization, but is a real journalistic endeavor. And so we see that happening. One of the others, and this is one of the other fourth quarter ones, we had talked about this, Jimmy. Wasn't sure we were going to work it in, but there's this young lady in Chicago. She's from the Chicago area, an African-American woman who left Chicago, worked for a paper outside of that state, actually, outside of the state of Illinois, and now has come back and started a hyper-local on digital newspaper to focus on covering some of the difficulties in Chicago from within, not from sitting on the outside and covering it like, oh, look, there's another shooting, let's do the shooting count, but telling the stories that she believes are not being told. And this kind of, is paralleling what I just said with the environmental publication, where now this is how it is, right? People are saying, if those big publications, those networks are not covering the stories the way that we feel they should cover them, then we're going to do it ourselves.
Right. Well, everybody, think about this, Dan. We have our own TV channel.
Yes, we do.
If you will.
Yes, we do.
It is the way it works these days. You, too, can have your own YouTube channel or your own Facebook page, and you, too, can become a media person yourself.
Exactly.
And I remember seeing McDonald's TV probably 20 years ago.
Oh, what's McDonald's TV?
Well, when was the last time you were in a McDonald's?
I actually went the other day. That was the first time in a long time, though.
Okay,
so it was late at night, and it was the place that was open.
I have a 27-year-old. I'm going to guess that we were there probably 20 years ago.
Yes.
Maybe even 15. It was the first time I ever saw basically closed circuit messaging.
Oh, so they had the TV inside of McDonald's.
Right,
yes.
but they're controlling the content.
Mm-hmm.
They're controlling the flow. And then I said to myself, wow, that's the future right there.
McDonald's News Network.
You're going to have your own news network.
Right.
And you know what I feel about our POTUS, right? He did not expect to win the presidency.
How does
he
that-
was ready to start his own media company.
Oh, okay.
That's what the
That's
and he
what that was all about.
And that's what is one of the most crazy things ever,
Right.
because now, of course, he is his own media
Oh,
company.
so that's where you're going.
Right.
So you expected to like watch POTUS TV and McDonald's, maybe. Oh man.
That could work. Yeah, I could see that, I think. Yeah.
Wow. Man.
I get
That was heavy.
indigestion just thinking about that, by
Yeah,
the way.
that was crazy. Anyway, that's been great. Bites.
I got one more
Oh,
thing.
one more. You have another bite.
One more bite.
Yes, one more bite.
Facebook.
Yes.
Has, you know how they, a couple of months ago, they had this experiment. They were going to change how they decided what information each person would have.
Exactly, yeah.
And it affected the news line of what you see, right?
Yes,
They've nixed that.
Oh, they have.
They didn't like it. They got bad feedback about it. People didn't like it. So because it was more, you were getting more information from businesses and outsiders with agenda than you were from your family and friends, which is really the soul of what Facebook was all about in the beginning.
Right.
Even though we know what it was about in the beginning.
Yes.
Anyway, so they've now nixed that. So they're going back to what it was before they changed their algorithms for this new news line. So
We're seeing, and look, you know,
social media is changing.
Well, look, what better way though than to figure out whether an audience likes something than just roll it out and you get instant feedback. And sometimes in, you know, especially media entrepreneurship, that's what you do, right? You start something, if you believe in it, you start going with it, you get the instant feedback, you find out what people are saying. Sometimes you tweak around the edges, sometimes you dump it all together. And one thing we know is that the public out there is not shy about telling you what they really think.
Right, and they do it on a regular basis. It's one of the reasons why we use this platform to stream raw material live on the internet, give you a little taste of what goes on behind a produced program, which turns out to be 1, 2, 3, or even 4 podcasts every week now. That's one of the reasons why we do this. And we want to get immediate feedback. Ultimately, we hope to have a screen where we have our live audience interaction, and we'll be able to give feedback. And of course, you see shows now on traditional television that have the internet component going on at the same time.
By the way, as you were talking,
yeah,
the mail carrier just came in and delivered a brand new camera.
Woohoo!
So I just saw a camera arrive.
Awesome.
So we'll have a brand new camera that.
And
will
our
give you
cost for the show just went up. I just want you to know. All right.
Thanks for enjoying this show, and it will be much clearer and cleaner and much more professional with a brand new camera that just arrived in a big box. Share our show, like it, keep listening on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, producer and social media guru, Alex Barth, and executive producer, Jonathan Sloan, I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
Until next time.